Here's a fun, simple project that you can do with bits of broken chain, and all you have to do is make the hearts. And I'm going to show you this very simple design. You could use beads with broken chain. You don't have to use the heart components. Anything will do. So for the hearts, I'm using 0.8 copper wire, and you can use 1 mil or 0.8 20 gauge. It really doesn't matter. The scale is up to you. And how I make the hearts is I find the center, create a loop by putting my round nose pliers at the center, and then bringing them to the side of the loop to create the two shoulders or sides of the heart. And then I just sort of pull it apart a little bit and then choose where I'm going to cross it over. And where the wires cross over is going to be the point of the heart. So I'm just going to trim one wire down so there's just enough to create a hook, and then I can place the extended wire within that hook and squeeze it shut so that that is secure at that point. And then I'm going to straighten the projecting wire and snip it off, leaving just enough to make a centralized link at the base of the frame. So that means you can link it from the center of the heart at the top and also link from the base. So it's a good linking system. So what you want to do is make at least 5 or 7 or however long you want to make this chain of these hearts. So again, you don't have to do them in copper. You can do them in any of the metals you have to hand, or it could be colored wires. It could all be in silver. I'm just doing a mixture of mixed metals because I do like that effect. So now I'm using my bail makers to make this heart a little bit bigger. You see, I'm using the sides of the heart, but you could have a pen or a pencil to create those sides also to make them just slightly larger in scale so that you have a real random, you want the whole chain to look a bit random with a sort of series of, because it's broken chain, so the chains are different, and then the hearts are different sizes, so you want that organic feel to it. So here's another one of the hearts you can see me making just like the first one. Secure it at the point, straighten out the excess, trim that off, and then create a loop or link at the base. You can bead these if you wanted to. Before you actually close that base, you could add beads on both sides and then secure and make this link. So if you wanted a necklace with beaded hearts, that's also possible. Anyway, make all your different sized hearts in that, using that method. And then if you're using plain wire like me, you can just hammer the outer edges. Try not to hit any of the wires that are crossed over. So the ones at the center and the ones at the end, try and not hit those with your hammer, because you'll not only weaken them by hammering one wire into another, you'll also distort them. So just hammer the edges, the top and the sides. And what that does, apart from spreading the metal so that it looks thicker and it's got more sort of, I don't know, illumination to it, more light to it, it also work hardens it. Now I'm using some bits of broken chain, leftovers from necklaces. I've got some silver beads, I've got also some jasper chips, and I'm going to just add a mixture of these. Now I'm using 0.8 of a millimeter, that's 20 gauge, and I'm going to create jump rings out of this 20 gauge 0.8 mil wire, because I want everything to be connected. So I'm going to make some in this wire, and you've probably seen me do this before. I'm wrapping the wire on one spot of the pliers while the rest is being pushed up automatically so that I can create an even sized coil. And once you've got your coil, you can get your cutters and cut it off the spool, and then find where the cut end is and snip one coil above it to create each separate, perfectly formed jump ring. So this will be your linking system. So you can do those in the silver-plated copper wire to keep adding, these two tones, and you can do some in copper. So I've got 0.8 millimeter wire here, or as we said, 20 gauge in US currency. So making that coil, cutting the coil and cutting each separate little link so that we can get these lovely round jump rings. If you have a coiling gizmo, you can always use that to make your coil, or you could wrap the wire around a knitting needle and then cut them off. So with your beads, you'll obviously want to make links on each side so that you can link them onto the chain. So you're creating a centered loop, cut it off from the spool, leaving enough wire to make another link on the opposite end. And as you can see, I'm bending the wire at right angles. I'm also making sure that those two loops are on the same plane, so they twist them round. So again, you can see how I do that. I thread the bead, I create a bend to a right angle. That means that when I wrap the wire back towards the bead, it is centered to the top of the bead. And the same thing on the other side. Bend to a right angle, bring it back towards the bead, and there's my second loop, and then just make sure that it's running in the same direction on the same plane. So you do those with your beads. If you're using semi-precious chips like I am, you might not be able to thread them with a 0.8. So I'm using 0.6 wire. Now because that's thinner wire, I'm going to have to make a wrapped link. So here I go. I'm making a loop with wire extending, and then I'm placing my pliers back in the loop and wrapping that extended wire around the base of that loop, keeping it nice and tightly wrapped. And then any excess I just snip off, and then I make sure that there's no spiky end. It's all pushed down, and then bring my little chip bead right up to that loop. And then for the opposite end, I hold that and make a bend, and that gives me a little space where I'm going to make my wrap. Then place the round part of my pliers to create that circular link. And now I can keeping my pliers in there, I can wrap the wire just under that loop until it touches the top of the semi-precious chip bead, and then cut it off really close and make sure that there are no spiky ends. So just sort of push those ends down. So you could make a few of those as well to add to your necklace. I mean, the combination is completely up to you. You could do this just with beads, broken chain, and no hearts, but I'm quite into hearts at the moment. So you can see how it's connected, just in a very random way. Chop the chain up, put the jump rings in, and then I always find it easier I put the 3 little hearts in a row, which is going to be near the base of my necklace. So that's going to hang down in the middle of my necklace. So that gives me an idea of how it's going to be. And then that means that the hearts are sitting down on each side of the necklace. So that's my center point. And then for the back, I want to add more chain and smaller pieces, because that's going to sit at the back of my neck. So you don't want big hearts at the back of your neck. So I'm just using this another of the chip beads here. and I'm going to connect that for the back because that's small. And if you find it's not long enough, you just add more chain and so forth. So you can make, you know, this to be doubled up if you wanted, so it's really long. But these long chains look absolutely fantastic in with any color schemes. So I do hope you've enjoyed this simple project and it's inspired you to make your own version. So connect it as you like, use beads, anything you've got to hand. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.